make sure that that's being done before we share that with you guys, just for accessibility purposes. And then we'll also be posting the recording of the webinar on the Harvard Extension School YouTube page for public viewing. I am going to be joined by a number of my colleagues throughout the presentation today, so you'll be hearing from a couple of us, so some different voices coming across your screen today. And we do want to note a few things regarding the chat feature. We are going to be monitoring the chat feature. We may not be able to respond back to everything posted in the chat because we do have a lot to get through for today's presentation, but we are setting aside some time at the very end of the webinar for Q&A. We do appreciate all of the questions that you guys have submitted to us during your registration period. That really helped us to create our presentation today to make sure that it's going to be the most helpful for you. And a lot of the top questions that you submitted, we pulled to answer during that Q&A period today. All right, so we are going to go ahead and get started now. We do realize that a lot of you are probably taking time out of your workday to attend today, and we really appreciate it. We hope that you guys are all staying safe as well. We know it's definitely a challenging time, especially having school and getting ready for that on top of everything else that you have going on in your lives. So hopefully today's webinar is going to be super helpful for you. And we'll also provide you with our contact information at the end of the webinar, just in case you have any questions. All right, it looks like we do have a quick note before I get started that there might be a problem with the volume. Just want to make sure that I have some confirmation that you guys can hear me okay before we get started. Okay, perfect. All right, thank you guys. That brings me to another quick note. Like many of you, you guys are probably working from home right now, as well as everyone at the Extension School. So if we do encounter any technical issues, we do apologize for that in advance. We do have a lot of people monitoring that for us, just in case. So just bear with us if we do run into any technical issues, but hopefully we'll be spared from that today during our time together. All right, so let's go ahead and get started today. As I mentioned, my name is Sean Cleary, and I'm the Assistant Director of Enrollment Services here at Harvard Extension School. I want to again thank you guys so much for taking time out of your day to join us for our first ever webinar on how to prepare for fall registration. We've spent a lot of time putting this together for you guys today, and we're super excited to share everything with you. It's really hard to believe that the fall term is right around the corner. It feels like we just finished up our summer registration period. We're so excited to have, it looks like over 400 of you joining us for today's webinar, just to kind of hear about what we have to offer you at the Extension School and how we can help you guys out going forward. All right. So despite all of the challenges and uncertainty of the past few months that have kind of been thrown our way with the COVID-19 situation, we're really optimistic about the future and the power of education. We're really excited about our lineup for the new academic year, which includes nearly 1,000 courses, which will all be offered online during the fall term, spring term, and our January session. I do want to reemphasize that, just in case you guys haven't heard that news yet, all classes for Harvard Extension School will be offered online for the fall semester and the spring term, so the entire 2020 to 21 academic year. We're also going to be offering 3 new graduate certificates and 4 new undergraduate certificates, and you'll see those certificate titles on your screen. And then finally, we're offering, for the first time ever, an academic gap year experience. These are courses and resources that are designed for college-age students, specifically students who might have just graduated from high school and are deciding to take a gap year as the uncertainty still remains in our environment right now regarding COVID-19. Today, we're going to focus primarily on all aspects of course registration, as we want to make sure that everyone feels comfortable navigating our course catalog and understands the course registration process and all that it entails. All right, so you guys are going to hear a lot of voices during today's presentation, so we wanted to give you the opportunity to match a face with the voice. So again, I'm Sean Cleary. I'm the Assistant Director of Enrollment Services, and I'm joined today by my colleagues, Ria Rano, our Enrollment Services Team Coordinator, Jaslyn Gomez-Jobson, our Immunization Requirements Specialist on our Enrollment Requirements team, and our moderator today, Crystal Holland, who is one of our marketing assistants. Again, a quick note that we are recording this webinar today, and we'll be sharing the link to view the webinar with you via email within the next few days. We'll also be posting the recording of the webinar on the Harvard Extension YouTube page for public viewing. All right, so we have a lot to cover today. I'm going to start off by telling you guys a little bit about my office, which is the Office of Enrollment Services. I'm then going to pass it over to my colleague Jaslyn to talk more about how to navigate the course catalog. I'll then jump back on to talk about placement tests and other course prerequisites with you. You'll then hear from Jaslyn again about our enrollment requirements, specifically English proficiency, and some important reminders for our international students who are joining us today. My colleague Ria Riano will then be talking about course registration and walking you guys through that process so you know how to fully complete your course registration next week. And then I'll be wrapping up the webinar with you today by talking about financing your education and some important dates and deadlines. And then we've set aside some time at the end of the webinar for Q&A. So we'll be answering some of the top questions that you guys submitted as part of the registration process for today's webinar. So with all that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So in my role at the Extension School, I oversee the Office of Enrollment Services. Our knowledgeable team is here to make your transition into the classroom as smooth as possible so that we can make sure that you achieve your educational goals. We can assist you with a variety of things, including navigating the course catalog, creating your student account, registering for your courses, and discussing general academic interests with you. In fact, we're actually going to dive deeper into pretty much all of these topics during today's webinar. We're going to start first today with how to navigate our course catalog, which will be led by Jaslyn Gomez-Jobson from our enrollment requirements team.
Thanks, Sean. Can everybody hear me okay? I just want a confirmation really quickly. Okay, great. Thank you, guys. So let's get started. When navigating the course catalog, there are 3 to choose from: degree courses, certificate courses, and all courses. All courses will be the best option if you are not pursuing a degree or a certificate. When going through the course catalog, you can use filters to refine your search. So you can filter by subject, by format, and by term. You can also use the More Filters option to further refine your search by day, credit status, and more. When using the degree or certificate course catalogs, we also have filters on the left to help you choose courses that fulfill requirements. When finding courses of interest, make sure you take note of the subject and number since this will be important for registration. Also take note of the term that your course is offered in, since not all courses are available during the fall and spring terms. If you find multiple courses you are interested in taking, you can also use the Save to Favorites option to create a list of favorite classes so you can refer back to them later at a later time. Keep a note that this favorites list won't register you for classes. Be sure to also take note of any placement tests or prerequisites listed at the bottom of the course description, since not all courses will have prerequisites listed, and not all prerequisites are required. So I'm now going to pass it back to Sean, and he will further explain course prerequisites.
Thanks, Jazz. You may notice that some course descriptions, like Jazz just showed you, list recommended prerequisites or general knowledge expectations. These are noted in the course catalog so that you're aware of what an instructor is expecting of their students. In most cases, you're not required to prove that you have met these prerequisites in order to register for a course. However, if you're unsure as to whether your previous experiences have fully prepared you to take the course, then we encourage you to view the course syllabus once it's made available, or contact the instructor of the course for further clarification closer to the start of the course registration period. You can easily find contact information for most instructors either on the online Harvard University directory, which you can find at directory.harvard.edu, or at the top of the course syllabus. As you guys are searching the course catalog, you may notice that there are some notes on certain classes that say the syllabus is coming soon. Just know that our academic administration is currently working to get those syllabi up as quick as possible. So hopefully you'll be able to look through those before registering for courses on Monday. Please note that the test of critical reading and writing skills is a required prerequisite for a number of our courses and is going to be noted in the course descriptions that require it. Additionally, proof of English proficiency is required for all Extension School courses. We'll talk more about our English proficiency requirements later on in today's webinar, But for now, we're going to turn our attention towards placement tests so that you understand how those work in a little bit more detail. So the first placement test that we have is the math placement test. This is a diagnostic test that is highly recommended, though it's not required for several of our courses. This test is intended for students who haven't taken a math course recently and who want to brush up on their skills before taking the test. The test is available daily from 4 a.m. to 11 p.m. Eastern Time within your online services account. There's no time limit, so you don't have to worry about having to complete the test within a certain time period. While there's no prep required of you before taking the test, you can check out Harvard Extension Ready for free lessons to help you brush up on core math skills. Your test scores are going to be available to you immediately after you've submitted your test. And while the math test isn't required for our courses, there is one test, again, that is required, which is going to be the test of critical reading and writing skills. You may hear me refer to this test as the cruise test as we go through these next couple of slides. So let's talk more about this test now and how it works. So the test of critical reading and writing skills is available to students through their online services account as well. If you're a new student and have not yet created an online services account, you'll want to visit the online services login page on our website, click Create Account in the New Student section at the bottom of the page, and follow the instructions on your screen to create your account. Once you've successfully created your account, you'll want to log in and select Placement Test from the main student menu. Then you'll select Take the Test of Critical Reading and Writing Skills. You'll want to make sure to review the test instructions before you get started. There's going to be a good number of those that are going to appear on your screen. And then click Begin Test at the bottom of the page when you feel ready to get started. Now that you guys know how to access the test, let's go through a few reminders just to ensure that your test experience is as smooth as possible. So there's several things that you should keep in mind before you take the cruise test. The first thing is that it's important to take the test as early as possible for course registration purposes, which is something I'll dive into in more detail in just a minute. You can take the test anytime between 3 a.m. and 11 p.m. Eastern Time. You must meet the English proficiency requirement for registration before you're actually allowed to access the test. You can also only take the test once for each term. There is no specialized knowledge required for the test, and it's also not necessary to study for this test. However, students are always welcome to check out Harvard Extension Ready, the same resource that you can use for the math placement test, for free lessons on core writing skills before you get started with the cruise test. For this test, you'll have 60 minutes to read a brief passage and answer 5 multiple choice questions and write a brief essay about the passage. The passage is going to be very similar to something that you would see presented to you within a Harvard Extension School course. Now we're going to move on to some final pieces of information about the test that you should be aware of. So as I just noted a second ago, it is important to take the cruise test as soon as possible for course registration purposes. So if you're a student who has already taken the cruise test, if you took that test between June 5th and July 9th, then you're going to find that your test scores will be available to you in your online services account this Friday, July 17th. So this means when course registration opens on Monday the 20th, you'll be all set to register for classes that require the cruise test if you received a passing score on the test. The same thing goes for the other test scores you guys see on your screen. If you take the test between now and July 23rd, you'll get your test scores on July 31st. And if you take the test between July 24th and August 13th, you'll receive your scores on August 24th. You won't be getting your test scores in advance of these dates, so you do have to wait until that exact date that you see on your screen to be able to access your scores. And then again, if you do receive that passing score on the test, you can go ahead and proceed with any class that requires the test as a prerequisite. If for some reason you do not pass the test, then what you'll find is that our exam graders will recommend that you take a course that will count towards meeting the cruise test requirement. Usually it's just a course that focuses more on your writing skills. If you pass that course with a grade of B or higher, then you'll be able to register for any course in the future that has the cruise test listed as a prerequisite. So this brings us to the end of our discussion on course prerequisites and placement tests. I know that's a lot of information to take in. Something that we're going to mention a lot during this webinar is that we do always encourage you guys to reach out to our office. If you run into issues with the cruise test or just have questions about other prerequisites, definitely always feel free to give us a call or send us an email, and we'll be providing you guys with our contact information for enrollment services, as well as some other resources at the end of the webinar today. So I'm now going to turn things back over to Jaslyn so that she can talk more about our English proficiency requirements and share important reminders for our international students who are joining us for today's webinar.
Great, thanks again, Sean. So for English proficiency, if your native language is not English, you will need to provide proof of English proficiency before registering for classes or taking the cruise test. For this requirement, we will accept satisfactory transcripts or test scores, which can be submitted through your online services account or via email at proficiency@extension.harvard.edu. Note that the fall deadline for this requirement is August 20th, and because of the pandemic, there are additional test options we will accept until the end of the spring 2021 registration period. If you have any further questions regarding this requirement, you can always contact our English Proficiency Coordinator at proficiency@extension.harvard.edu. Diving deeper into this requirement, here's what we will accept. For official transcripts, they must show completion of a 3 or 4 year high school diploma, 3 or 4 year bachelor's degree, or a graduate degree, which can be a master's or PhD. The schools in which you have earned these achievements must be located in the US, Australia, Canada, New Zealand, Republic of Ireland, or the United Kingdom. For test scores, we will accept the TOEFL, the IELTS, or the Pearson Test of English Academic. And to the right of these tests are the minimum scores we accept. For TOEFL, it's 100 on the IBT. For IELTS, it's a 7.0. And for Pearson, it's 70. And lastly, again, because of the pandemic, there are additional test scores we will accept for this year. The TOEFL Special Home Edition, the Duolingo English Test, and the Cambridge English Language Assessment. And again, to the right of these tests are the minimum scores we will accept. For TOEFL, it's 100. For Duolingo, it's 125. And for the Cambridge English Language Assessment, it's 191. Please note that we don't accept any other documents other than the ones listed here. This information can also be found in depth on our website under English Proficiency. And finally, here are some reminders for our international students. Please note that I-20s and student visas are not required for online courses. Additionally, we don't offer I-20s during the fall or spring terms as they are only available through Harvard Summer School. And OPT is unavailable through Harvard Extension and summer schools. If you have any further questions regarding visas, you can always contact our international student specialist at visas@extension.harvard.edu. I will now pass it over to my colleague Ria Bano so she can explain how to register for courses.
Thanks so much, Jazz. Can everyone hear me okay? Is the temperature check? Yes, perfect, love that. So before we talk through the steps required to fully register for courses, let's spend a few minutes reviewing our enrollment policies here at Harvard Extension School. We'll start with the age requirement. For undergraduate and non-credit courses, you must be at least 15 years old. To register for graduate courses, you must be at least 18 years old and have a bachelor's degree. Additionally, if you are thinking about pursuing our ALB undergraduate degree, because our programs are expressly designed for working adults, you will need to be outside of high school for at least 5 years to be eligible. Let's move on to full-time and maximum enrollment policies. Maximum enrollment for the fall semester is 16 credits, or generally 4 classes. This also constitutes full-time status. So you can take anywhere from 1 to 4 courses during the fall semester. In terms of time commitments, and speaking from my own experience as an admitted degree candidate, on average, students should expect 8 to 10 hours of work each week, including lecture time. We recommend that you take a look at the syllabus for each course that you're interested in order to get a formal idea of the workload. Now let's talk about time conflicts. You cannot be enrolled in courses that meet at the same or overlapping times unless at least one of the courses is offered online with an on-demand option and does not require live attendance. If you choose to register for courses with time conflicts, then you must drop one or more of the conflicting courses by the payment deadline, or you'll be dropped from one of those courses by the registrar's office. Finally, you can transfer in a maximum of 64 credits from other schools towards completing an undergraduate degree with us. However, you cannot transfer graduate credits into our graduate programs. For those programs, you must complete all coursework at Harvard Extension School. Additionally, if you are attempting to transfer in international credits, you will need to submit them to the Center for Educational Documentation before we will accept them. Now, let's talk about course registration. During this section of the webinar, we'll first review the steps you need to take in order to register for a course, and then show you how to successfully complete the registration process. First, you'll need to create a DCE key so as to access an online services account. The process itself takes about 15 minutes and requires that you have an active email address with regular access to. We've included a link to an instructional video for you to view at your leisure. You'll then explore the course catalog previously introduced by Jazz in this webinar to determine which class you'd like to register for. Ensure that you've met all prerequisites, including placement tests and proof of English proficiency. Register for the course of your choice and then pay your tuition in full by August 10th. So once you've created your online services account, you'll land on this main menu, from which you can register for your course, keeping in mind, again, that you can take a maximum of 4 classes for the fall semester. This is also where you can submit English proficiency documentation or take placement tests. After reviewing the course catalog, you'll first run your mouse over the tab noted Course Registration and Schedule, which will bring up an additional drop-down menu with an option for you to add courses for fall term 2020. You'll go ahead and click on that option. So the next screen will encourage you to select a subject. Please note that an alert at the top of this page will come up reading registration pending. This should not be interpreted as you having additional steps to complete in order to register. It simply means that you are in the process of registering. When you've completed your registration, that alert will change to registration complete. You'll then choose the subject of your choice. Once you've found your subject in the drop-down menu, you'll click on List Courses. You'll then note the class that you're interested in. For the purpose of this webinar, we'll choose Principles of Chemistry and click on the button that reads Register on the right-hand side of your selection. It will then prompt you to select your credit status, and this is key. Undergraduate credit level is for students who intend on using this class towards an undergraduate degree. Graduate credit level is for transference into a graduate program or certificate, and non-credit, if offered, is for those students who don't need to take the class for credit and are instead using it for personal or professional development. You'll then be asked to review your selection to ensure that you've chosen the right credit status. You can change your credit status on the right-hand side there if you need to. Otherwise, you can click on the tab at the bottom that says Continue Registration. This next screen will have you review the tuition and fees for your course. If all looks good, you can simply click Confirm at the bottom of your screen. Finally, we've reached our confirmation page. As promised at the top of your screen, you'll see that the alert has now changed from registration pending to registration complete. If you are prepared to make a payment, you can click on Make Payment View Account Details to be routed to the payment portal. Otherwise, that link can be found in the main menu of your online services account under Student Finance Portal. As your registration is now complete, the course should show up under your course schedule in your online services account as well. Please note that it may take 1 to 2 business days for your actual Canvas course website, where you'll submit assignments and interact with your class, to reflect this registration. And now I'll go ahead and turn it back over to Sean for some important information on tuition and financial aid.
All right, thank you, Ria. As Ria mentioned, we're going to turn our attention now to cost and financial aid, as we realize that this is an extremely important factor for our students to consider when weighing the pros and cons of returning back to the classroom again. Displayed on your screen right now are our 2020 to 21 tuition rates, which are $1,880 for each undergraduate level course, $2,900 for each graduate level course, and $1,500 for each non-credit course. While students who have not yet been admitted into one of our degree programs are not eligible to receive financial aid, students may view our page for non-admitted students on the Extension School website for information about other financing or scholarship opportunities that are currently available to them. Students who have been officially admitted into one of our degree programs at either the undergraduate or graduate level are eligible to apply for federal and state financial aid by using a resource such as the free application for federal student aid, or the FAFSA. Admitted students can also view our page for admitted students on the Extension School website for more information about the various types of financial aid opportunities that are currently available to them. Please note, though, that federal, state, and institutional financial aid is not available to you if you are not a U.S. citizen or eligible non-citizen. If you are currently an active duty or retired service member and are eligible to use your veterans benefits to help to cover the cost of your education here at the Extension School, then you're encouraged to reach out to our Student Financial Services Office for the best assistance with this going forward. We have a Veterans Benefits Coordinator on our Student Financial Services team who will be a great resource for you during your time here at the Extension School. Overall, it's important that all students know that questions about your tuition bill or financial aid should always be directed to our Student Financial Services team. We have included their contact information on the screen, their phone number, as well as their email address, just in case you guys need to reach out to them with any questions, either now or as we get closer to the start of the fall term. Now that we've covered this cost and financial aid information, let's move on to a review of some important payment and refund deadlines for the upcoming fall term. All right, so I've seen a lot of questions come through in the chat about different deadlines. So after this slide, we're actually going to move into some of our overall big fall deadlines. So just know that that review is coming. When it comes to payments and refunds, though, there's a lot of important deadlines to keep in mind. The fall term payment deadline is going to be Monday, August 10th. However, course registration with an immediate payment is going to remain open through our course registration deadline, which is August 27th. This means that if you register for a course between August 11th and August 27th, then you will be required to make an immediate payment for that course to avoid not only being dropped from that course, but also from any other courses that you've registered and paid in full for already. I'll give a quick example just so you kind of understand how this policy works. As an example, if you registered and paid in full for 2 courses on August 6th, which is before the payment deadline, and then registered for another course on August 12th, which is after the payment deadline, but did not make an immediate payment for that 3rd course, then you would be dropped from all 3 of your courses, not just the course that you most recently added to your course schedule. The reason for this is because there would be a balance being showed as due on your student account, and if that balance hadn't been paid, then it would drop you from all of those courses. If you decide that you need to drop a course for whatever reason, then the deadline to do so for a 100% tuition refund is Tuesday, September 8th, and the deadline for a 50% tuition refund is Tuesday, September 15th. The final date to withdraw from your fall term courses for no tuition refund is Friday, November 20th. Again, if you have any questions about payments or refunds, we do encourage you to reach out to our Student Financial Services team for the best assistance, and their phone number and email address has been provided on this slide once again for your reference. So now that we've discussed these payment and refund deadlines, I do want to move on to a discussion of some of the other important dates and deadlines for the fall term. So displayed on your screen right now is a full listing of important dates and deadlines for the fall term. Our course registration is going to open up to all students on Monday, July 20th at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. A quick note, though, that our servers do experience a lot of traffic between the hours of 9 to 11 a.m. Eastern Time on our course registration days. So if you happen to experience issues registering for courses during this time, then we do encourage you to try again a little bit later in the morning or early afternoon. Students are going to have until 11:59 p.m. Eastern Time on Thursday, August 27th to get registered for fall term courses with us. Few quick things to remember: if English is not your native language, then you'll need to provide proof of English proficiency first before you can register for courses with us. The deadline to submit your proof of English proficiency for the fall term is Thursday, August 20th. If you're registered for courses and have paid for these courses in full by the course registration deadline, which is again August 27th, then you can still make changes to your course schedule, whether that be adding courses, dropping courses, or changing your credit status during our course changes period. This is going to run from Friday, August 28th through Tuesday, September 8th. And then again, as previously noted a few minutes ago, the payment deadline is Monday, August 10th. The first day of fall term courses is going to be Monday, August 31st, and the fall term will end on Saturday, December 19th. And all of our courses for the fall term and the spring term will be offered online. We will not be doing on-campus courses as part of the Extension School during the 2020 to 21 academic year due to the ongoing effects of COVID-19. You can find our complete fall term academic calendar on our website, which is extension.harvard.edu. You'll see a button in the top right corner that says calendars. That'll quickly link you to that page. So now that we've reviewed these important dates and deadlines, we are going to go ahead and move on to our Q&A section to close out today's webinar. I'm going to be joined by my colleagues, Ria and Jazz, who you guys have heard from today during the webinar for this Q&A period. We have selected a few questions that look to be our top questions that you guys submitted as you were registering for the webinar today. We realized that there's a lot of questions coming through the chat right now and that maybe you're going to have some questions after the webinar today. So we do encourage you guys to always reach out to us through phone and email. We're going to review our contact information at the very end of the webinar today so that you have it for future reference. We're also recording the webinar, so we are going to be sending out this webinar recording to you if you need to review any information from it today. That recording should be available to you guys within the next few days. There's always a slight delay with the webinar recordings because we do send them off to get closed captioned for accessibility purposes. So it may be late this week, early next week before that recording is sent to you via email. And then we'll also be posting it on the Harvard Extension School YouTube page for public viewing. So if you have anyone who you know, like a friend or family member who wasn't able to join us today, you'll definitely have that link to share with them or be able to direct them to YouTube to view today's webinar. So I'm going to pass things over to Jazz and Ria to get us started with some of our most frequently asked questions from you guys. And then I'll close us out with one final question and some final reminders before we close out today.
Great. Thanks, Sean. So one of the most commonly asked questions that we received was, are Harvard Extension School degrees the same as other four-year degrees? So Harvard Extension School is a very unique school, especially with our non-traditional admission pathways. So while we're not typically a traditional four-year school, the Extension School is one of the 12 degree granting schools at Harvard. Therefore, we are a fully accredited school and our degrees obtain the Harvard University insignia. Those who complete our degrees do walk at the university commencement and become members of the Harvard Alumni Association. Another commonly asked question that we get is, how long does it take to complete a degree program and our certificates? The length of time it takes for a student to complete a degree or certificate will depend on the amount of courses a student takes each semester and how many courses are required for that said degree or certificate. Just note that degree programs do require students to finish their degree within 5 years of completing either their second or third degree applicable course, again, depending on the program you are choosing. And for certificates, they must be completed within 3 years, but students can definitely finish either or underneath that time frame.
All right, thanks, Jazz. We'll move on to Ria next with a few other questions.
Thanks, Sean. Really appreciate that. So we have a couple additional questions here. One is, due to the COVID-19 pandemic, how are students expected to meet the on-campus requirements for degree programs? And I did see this come up in the chat as well. So traditionally, our degree programs have an on-campus requirement. Obviously, as a result of COVID-19 and an abundance of caution, the Extension School will be moving entirely online for the 2020-2021 academic year. We know that this throws a wrench in your plans, and we sympathize with those who desire the on-campus experience of being in Cambridge this year. However, courses that are delivered in the live web conference format will count as meeting the on-campus requirement. And courses that meet that requirement will be noted as such in the degree course search in the course catalog that Jazz introduced y'all to earlier. Another question that we got was, how will the traditional shopping period be conducted during the first week of classes in an online format? So just to clarify, unlike other parts of Harvard, the Extension School does not have a shopping period, which permits students to sit in on classes without registering to determine if they want to take that specific course. All students must be registered by Thursday, August 27th in order to gain access to coursework. However, if you are able to make changes to your schedule through Tuesday, September 8th. During the course changes period, you can switch, drop, or add additional courses. Now I'll turn it back over to Sean just to close this out with one more question.
All right, one question that we saw come through a lot from you guys is regarding our wait lists and how those work. So especially as we start to get a little bit deeper into the course registration period, you guys may start to see that some of the classes that you were looking to register for, especially those courses that offer limited enrollment, are starting to fill up, and they might have notes in the course catalog that a wait list has started. So just want to kind of briefly go over how the wait lists work for us here at the Extension School. Any student who's registered for a course that has reached its enrollment limit is going to be placed on a wait list. If any students admitted into the course drop from the course or get dropped from the course for any reason, such as non-payment, then the students on the wait list will be moved into the course in the order in which they registered and fulfilled all the requirements for the course. When you go to get put on the wait list, you may not be able to tell what spot you are in the wait list, so definitely don't hesitate to reach out to our office enrollment services, and we can look that information up for you. Just in case you're trying to weigh your options, if it's worth it to stay on the wait list, or if there's a lot of people, maybe you're thinking about a different class instead, we can always confirm your spot on the wait list. However, we are unable to predict a student's chances of being added to a course off of the wait list. If you end up not being admitted into the course that you're waitlisted for, then you are going to receive a full tuition refund for the course, and you may no longer attend it. More detailed information about waitlist and our limited enrollment courses can be found on our website, extension.harvard.edu. I can't emphasize enough how many resources are out there on our website for you guys. Definitely take some time to kind of play around, get familiar with the website. We've done a lot of updates to it, especially with the COVID-19 situation going on. And there's a lot of good detail out there, and for everything from registration, admissions, our degree programs, graduate certificates, a lot of great stuff out there for you guys. So this now brings us to the end of our Q&A period. Those were the kind of the top 5 questions that we heard from everyone coming into the webinar today. Again, we do thank you guys, all of you who submitted questions, to help us not only develop this Q&A period, but also just to really frame this whole webinar for you today. It was super helpful for our team just to make sure that this was going to be a useful presentation for you today. We do realize, though, that you guys probably have a lot of other questions. So I do want to show you our contact information real quick, just so you know how to get in touch with us. Seen a lot of questions come through the chat. There's been a lot of great questions. I know we haven't been able to get to all of them today, just because there are so many coming through. But definitely please reach out to our team. We are here to help you guys with whatever you need. We are all working remotely currently in the Office of Enrollment Services, but we're fully functional from home. We can still take phone calls. We still have access to our email systems. So we're still doing everything like we would in the office from the comfort of our homes right now. Our office hours are Monday through Friday from 9:00 a.m. to 5:00 p.m. Eastern Time. So you can reach us via phone at 617-495-4024. That phone number will connect you with one of our enrollment services specialists who can help to answer your questions. You can also send us an email to inquiry@extension.harvard.edu. I would say, though, if you guys have immediate questions that you need a very quick answer to, phone is probably going to be the best way to get in contact with us. If you send us an email, just keep in mind that we do have a normal response time of 2 to 3 business days. So we try to get to those as quick as possible, but still have that buffer in there, just because on certain days we do get a very high volume of emails that come through. I also want to go through a couple of additional resources too outside of our office that you guys might be interested in. First and foremost, like a really big thing to keep in mind, if this is your first time taking courses with the Extension School this fall, then our office is going to be the point person for you. Whether that's just learning about how the admissions process works, answering questions about course registration, our office helps students through their first 2 classes before you move on to working with the admissions office more intensely. If you're a returning student or might have already completed a couple of classes with us, you're getting ready to start the admissions process, then we encourage you to start reaching out to the Office of Admissions. You'll be able to connect with an admissions advisor there. We provided the admissions office email address right here on your screen, which is admissions@extension.harvard.edu. The admissions office is currently not able to take phone calls as part of our current work from home situation, so email is going to be the best way to reach their team. They also offer virtual office hours, and there's no appointment necessary for those. We do have a link to their website for the office hours on your screen right now, so you can go to that website to see their upcoming dates and to join in on one of their sessions. And if you happen to be considering a graduate certificate or one of our new undergraduate certificates, we saw that there was a lot of interest there. We provide the contact information for their office on your screen. They are only reachable via email at this time, and they're also offering virtual office hours, which are held every Wednesday from 12 to 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Those office hours are led by our graduate certificates coordinator, so definitely a great resource for you if you're interested in pursuing that track or the undergraduate track. And you can visit their website for more information about these office hours. All right, so to wrap things up this afternoon, on behalf of the Enrollment Services team and the Enrollment Requirements team here at the Extension School, I just want to thank everyone for joining us today for our first ever webinar on how to prepare for fall registration. We really hope that you found today's webinar to be both informative and helpful to you as you start to prepare for the fall term and register for your desired courses with us soon. Again, we are going to be sharing the recording of today's webinar with you via email within the next few days, and we'll also be posting the recording on the Harvard Extension School YouTube page too for public viewing purposes. Again, I can't stress this enough, please don't hesitate to reach out to us if you have any questions or concerns going forward. We definitely want to help you guys have the smoothest transition possible into the fall semester just to ensure your success from the very beginning. We're always happy to help, so once you guys get the recording of this webinar, or if you're just on the website, our contact information is there. 617-495-4024 is our phone number, and inquiry@extension.harvard.edu is our email address. So thank you guys all again, and we hope that you have a great day, and thanks for joining us so much to learn more about the fall registration process here at the Extension School.